Hello everybody, I'm excited and I hope you are too, because today I'm gonna show you 10 satisfactory building techniques that can turn a build like this into something like this. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have perfect corners on pillars. I bet you've seen this somewhere before, but just to be sure, let's just go over it. So you take your beams and you get the angle that you want, and then you can basically just nudge it into place. Just like that. Now if you were to connect one pillar to another pillar, you take your beam and connect it to where you want your key point to be. Then you can simply nudge it into place just like before. Now it might be tempting to use the other side as a connection point as well, but that's no good because it's not always going to be perfect, so you're better off making your key point exactly where you want it to start, and then you can connect it perfectly. Just like that. Now, what if I told you that we are going to do the same thing, but with beams? Perfect corners on beams are a little bit different. You're going to have to use pillars as scaffolding. We're going to take our beam and then nudge it half a meter into it, and then getting the angle that we want. Then we need to use that angle to place more scaffolding, do the process once more, but this time we have to do it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Now this works in any kind of rearrangement. You decide what angle you want it to be. As long as you can nudge it into place, it should be working. Now we're just gonna do a weird angle here. Gonna do the same trick. Scaffolding on scaffolding and then nudge 3 times. 1, 2, 3. There you go. And we have our funky angle. Ta-da! To make a slightly raised foundation, I like to use the framed floor and then put a pillar on top, just like that. I don't know why, but it lifts it up a little bit. You just delete this. Then you take your foundation and connect it to the bottom of the pillar, and now it's slightly raised. I like to use this building technique when I'm making small pathways or roads and stuff like that. There's no sea fighting, and you can even place walls on top of it. I like to do this so it looks like there's a border or like a painted trim. I like to use this technique around my factory so it doesn't look like there's a giant road, but it's just a pathway that's like circling it. I think they're better than the painted ones you can have on foundations because these go above them and take priority. It's also an easy way to get more detail this way. You could even have a painted foundation underneath if you wanted to. In my personal opinion, the frame floor is highly slept on. Not a lot of people use it in their builds, I feel like, and it's a shame because it gives a really nice vertical depth just because it is a slight bit taller than the normal foundation. I love to use these. I use them for, I would say, at least 50% of my builds when I need any kind of vertical depth. For example, if I have one detail that needs to overlap another, I use this trick to lift it up just a tiny bit. You can also walk on it, which is nice. So yeah, highly slept on. I use it all the time. Maybe it could help you as well. If you went off grid and you want to connect your foundations again, you can just simply take a beam and then connect the 2 corners of the foundations like this. And then just by simply nudging them into place, they connect perfectly. It's amazing. I would recommend not connecting them like this, because then it might not be perfect. You have to connect them to the 2 points that you want and then connect the foundation to the first one you did. That is your key point. And that's where it's going to be completely straight and make sure everything lines up perfectly. Just like that. Another neat trick is the road barrier. Even though it has a limited rotation, if you connect it like this, it's gonna make sure that your foundations always have neat corners that are seamless. Now it's perfectly aligned and it goes really well with the other building technique. You can even use it to make hexagons. They are the best guns after all. When you make a beam and you want to put beam connectors on it, sadly we cannot color them yet, maybe, hopefully. And that's really annoying because they stand out a lot, and the best thing that I could come up with was actually just to change the color of my beams to 2D, 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 because changing the color of the beams is possible, so why not just embrace the color and make it a little bit more seamless. So that is how I go about making things look less out of place. There is a way to make your sign go into your wall so you can have text on it. I take a 1 meter wall and align it with the corners of the beams that I've placed. Just like that. And now if I put my sign, I'm just gonna turn around and notch it in 1/2 meter, it should align perfectly. There you go, and now you have text on your wall. I like to use this for a lot of my builds. I think it's very boring when the wall is just super plain. It's super flush, like you can barely see it. There is a tiny little gap right there. You can see a tiny gap, but that's all. And it doesn't look too bad from the other side as well. The back of the sign is pretty cool as well. I actually like to use them in most of my builds, so I don't really mind them. But yeah, that's how you get text on your walls. Another thing that I do a lot in my builds is sign art. The thing about the sign is you can customize it however you like. And what I like to do is use them for extra detail on my build. You see, on every computer there's something called a character map. And that is basically where you can find all these kind of funny little symbols that you can use in any kind of way you want when you're writing. And I like to use them in my signs to create patterns and stuff that I can use for my builds. For example, this one is just supposed to be some random detail. I use this technique in all of my builds. It is almost crucial for my style. The best tip I can give you is that when you're building, try to look at things differently. A big pillar support does not have to live up to its name. We call that clever part usage. Twisting and turning parts so they fill the exact right space they need for your build to look the way you want it to is just the best way to go about things if you want to create something that is truly unique. I'm just pulling off little bits and bobs so you can see all the different kinds of things that I crammed into my silo here. Now that I'm thinking about it, all the different techniques that I've shown you in this video is actually crammed in here. The perfect corners, the sign art, clever part usage. It's all just crammed into this build. I hope that at least one of these building techniques is gonna help you with your next project. I just want to say thank you so much everybody for watching, and until next time. Anything could be anything. Anything could be anything. Anything could be anything.